Question 2. This question says, statistics show that meat production and transport-related activities have almost identical results for global warming. We have keywords: statistics, meat production, transport-related activities, almost identical results, global warming. Most words in the sentence, in fact. So we know that we will find the answer after the answer to question 1. And scanning just after the information for question 1, we come to this sentence. The report showed that the production of meat for consumption produces more global warming than driving. Although transport is responsible for 13% of climate gases, livestock is responsible for 18%. Synonyms we have are statistics equals 13% and 18%. Meat production equals produces more global warming than driving, and this is 18%. Transport-related activities equals driving and transport, and this is 13%. The question says almost identical results, but the statistics are not almost identical. They are 18% and 13%. Also, the text refers to more global warming for driving, while the question says this is nearly the same as for transport. So the answer in this case is false because the question contradicts the information that is in the text. Question 3. This question refers to a Dutch film with the same purpose as Al Gore's film with regard to the environmental consequences of meat production. The key words here are Dutch film, same purpose as Al Gore's film, regarding environmental consequences, and meat production. So we keep scanning through the text after the answer to question 2. We come to these sentences. The FAO report, especially through the film of the Dutch Party for the Animals, Meat and Truth, got a lot of public attention. The movie is an attempt to correct Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth, with regard to the environmental costs of meat production. All the information is the same. We have the Dutch film and Al Gore's film, and we also have environmental costs of meat production. But the text says an attempt to correct Al Gore's film, where correct means to rectify or put right a situation or error. The question says both films have the same purpose, so this is incorrect. It contradicts the information in the text, and so the answer is false. Question 4. This question says that the negative environmental effects that are listed have heavier impacts or consequences in some parts of the world. When we go to the text and keep looking after the answer to question 3, we need to scan for information about the negative environmental effects and their impacts in different parts of the world. What we find just after the answer to question 3 is the sentence beginning, in addition to greenhouse gas emissions by cows and the cultivation of corn and soy and their transport. This section gives us negative environmental effects, and this continues until the end of the paragraph. But over this whole section, there is no mention of the negative effects in different parts of the world. The text does refer to the adverse effects of intensive non-land-based farming, but it doesn't clearly say where in the world this is. The answer could be implied, but is actually not stated. So the answer is not given. Question 5. The question refers to possible consequences for animals fed something that is not part of their natural diet, in this case, grain. The key words are possible consequences, fed grain, not part of natural diets. So, to find the answer, it's best to start looking from after question 3 again, because question 4 was not given. So scanning through the text from the answer to question 3, we find this sentence. Other consequences include the increase of animal diseases of grazers, increased by feed such as wheat and soy their stomachs are not built for. This sentence is saying that there are consequences for animals eating feed such as wheat and soy, that is, grains, that their stomach is not built for, that is, not designed for. It means grains are unsuitable for their stomachs. This is the same as what the question says, and the answer is therefore true. Question 6. This question says that the greatest source of methane emissions is cattle fed with concentrates. So we need to keep scanning through the text after the answer to question 5, and we find at the end of the paragraph we have cattle fed with concentrates produce more methane emissions than grass-fed cattle. This has our keywords concentrates, methane emissions, and cattle. There is no more information about methane emissions in the text. This sentence tells us only that cattle fed with concentrates produce more methane than those fed on grass. We don't know what the greatest source of methane emissions is. So the answer here is not given. Question 7. This question states that vegetarianism can be justified because of its beneficial environmental effects. So we start looking on paragraph C because the answer to question 6 was right at the end of paragraph B. Scanning through paragraph C, we find, however, the environmental problems of animal husbandry are not compelling justifications for vegetarianism. This has our keywords environmental, justifications, and vegetarianism. But the text contradicts the question. The question says that vegetarianism can be justified, but the text contradicts this, saying it is not justified. So the answer to question 7 is false. Question 8. This question says that vegetarians have a different focus than other concerned animal welfare groups. If we continue to scan through paragraph C, we come to here the animal rights and welfarist people clash with the environmentalists. Vegetarianism evades this dilemma by recommending that everyone refrains from eating meat. This has our keywords vegetarianism and animal rights and welfarist people for animal welfare groups. If we look back to the text at what here and this dilemma are referring to, we see that the dilemma or problems is reducing greenhouse gases versus increasing animal welfare. So while other animal rights groups disagree about the dilemma, the text tells us that vegetarianism avoids the problem by taking a different perspective. You need to understand the words evades this dilemma to understand that vegetarians think differently to other groups. This agrees with what the question says, that vegetarians take a different focus. So the answer is true.